Welcome to SV Union High School and Junior College children. I am Deepa Farke. We are going to continue learning figures of speech in the part 2 session. So let's begin with the figures of speech. Exclamation. In exclamation, an exclamatory mark is used to show, express strong wish or desire. We find that intense emotions are expressed using the exclamatory form of sentence or exclamatory form in order to create a better poetic effect. It attracts the reader's attention to the point made. See these examples. If dogged and grim you be size and beget it, with the help of God you will get it. The day of trial bear, for gloriously, victoriously, can courage quell despair. A diadem adorns the night. These expressions, when we go through children, we understand the same thing, that exclamation is a figure of speech wherein the exclamatory form of sentences is used to convey intense emotion of the writer. It also attracts the attention of the reader. Now next one is interrogation. In interrogation, a rhetorical question is asked for exaggeration or to cause deep thinking and not for getting an answer. So when the poet asks us something in the line or in the sentence, it doesn't mean that we are supposed to answer. We as a reader supposed to answer that question. Definitely it doesn't mean that. Rather it means that when the reader reads that question, even the question is created into the mind of the reader. See these examples, children. Did I pass that huge times ago and negligently drop them? The poet is asking himself that the quality of being kind, the quality of being helpful, have I passed it long ago? Have I just given up long ago and negligently dropped them? So here the poet wants us to ponder, wants us to think about it. That's the reason interrogation is used. See these examples, remaining ones. What though death at times steps in and calls our best away? Have you ever seen a sheet on a riverbed? Here the question is not asked with the intention to get an answer, but to set us thinking. So interrogation is a figure of speech wherein rhetorical questions are asked not for the sake of seeking a response, but for a better poetic effect or better impact. Next figure of speech is personification. In personification, inanimate objects or things are given human qualities. Examples: into the heaven of freedom, my father, let my country awake. Where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection. If goodness leads him not, yet weariness. So through these examples, we understand that inanimate things or abstract ideas are represented as persons or as having human qualities. So whenever an inanimate objects or ideas are given human qualities of laughing, feeling, dancing, rejoicing, it can be any other feeling of human being that is given is known as personification. Now next is apostrophe. Things or people who are dead or who are absent are directly addressed in apostrophe. Into the heaven of freedom, my father, let my country awake. The poet Rabindranath Tagore is addressing God as his father, who is right now not present in front of him, still he is addressing him. This becomes apostrophe. Exult, O shores, and ring, O bells. This is again apostrophe. So in apostrophe, inanimate or abstract ideas or absent people are addressed in order to create a better impact and create a better poetic effect. The next one is paradox. A paradox refers to the use of concepts or ideas that are contradictory or contrary to one another. Yet together the ideas provide surprising understanding of the life around us. Let me repeat it again. A paradox refers to the use of concepts or ideas that are contrary to each other. Still, together the ideas provide surprising understanding about the life around us. Let him be rich and weary. Rich and weary. A child gives birth to a mother. Child gives birth to a mother. Truth is honey, which is bitter. Your enemy's friend is your friend. Wise fool. So two contrary ideas are given in paradox. At the same time, together they provide us surprising understanding about the life. So in short, you can say that paradox is a figure of speech wherein the statement may appear to be absurd due to the contradiction it tries to convey. But on thinking about it, we see the truth in it. Next figure of speech is irony. Irony is a figure of speech in which words are used in such a way that their intended meaning is different from the actual meaning of the words, from the literal meaning of the words. It may also be a situation that ends up in quite a different way than what is generally anticipated. In simple words, it is also a difference between appearance and reality. It seems to be different, whereas in reality it is something else. See these examples. A fire station burns down. A pilot has a fear of heights. The doctor is as kind as a wolf. Let me give you a few more examples on my own. The thieves robbed the police station. It is an irony. A child of uneducated parent is a great author. This is also an irony. My dad's new car cost him a ton of money. Irony. So, in short, in irony, words are used in such a way that their intended meaning is different from the actual meaning of the words. Literally, we may praise a person, but figuratively, we are criticizing or mocking the person. Britain's biggest dog was named Tiny. A man died in his living room. Died, living room. So you might have understood the meaning of irony. The next figure of speech is onomatopoeia. The sound of words which imitate the natural sound of a thing are used for emphasizing the effect is called onomatopoeia. We can learn with the words that brings out sound becomes onomatopoeia. Examples. Then the whining schoolboy with his satchel. Turning again towards childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound, and buzzed the name of God 100 times. These word children, these examples, you can see the words whining, that is complaining. The word whine brings out sound. Childish tremble, pipes and whistles brings out sound. Buzzed the name of God, buzzed. So these words are onomatopoeic words. So onomatopoeia is defined as a word which imitates the natural sound of a thing. It creates a sound effect that mimics the thing described, making the description more expressive and interesting. It is wisely used in poetry to create a sound effect. Next figure of speech is transferred epithet. In transferred epithet, the adjective, which is known as epithet, is transferred from the proper word to another which is closely related to the proper word. So you can say that there is a slip of adjective from one to the other word. Examples. Sign like furnace with a woeful ballad. Now children, you can see in this example, the epithet woeful has been transferred from the lover to the ballad. Next example. His youthful hose well saved a world too wide. Next one, of diabolic tale in the dark room. Now in this example, children, transferred epithet, this becomes transferred epithet because the adjective diabolic, which means devilish, has been transferred from the scorpion to his tail. 10 days and nights with sleepless eye. So children, in all these examples, you can see the adjective that has been used here is transferred from one noun to the other one. So transferred epithet is a figure of speech wherein the describing word or the epithet or adjective is transferred from the word to which it should actually be attributed, or another word closely associated with the same. Pun. The pun is a play on words based on their different meanings for a humorous effect. It can be used to bring about humor, surprise, or admiration. See these examples. Rest in the bottom lay. Rest, bottom. The box was matchless. Box without matches. You were right, so I left. Right, left. Why does the wing of a building fly? Wing and fly. Can you tickle the ribs of a parasol? Ribs of a parasol. So children, you can in short learn about a pun. That a pun is something which plays on words and gives different meaning. Pun is something, children, where you that there is a play upon words by exploiting multiple meanings of a term to evoke laughter or to create a better effect. Now let's learn about synecdoche. Next figure of speech is synecdoche. In synecdoche, a part of whole is used to represent the whole, or the whole is used to represent a part. 10 days and nights with sleepless eye. Sleepless eye. Instead of sleepless people, a part is given, that is I. May toss him to my breast. Instead of me, breast, the word is given. Even children, in synecdoche, along with the part for the whole or whole for the part, even an individual is substituted for a class. Example, a self-declared Einstein, he had excellent reasoning. Einstein. Children, even in synecdoche, concrete is used for abstract. Example, the mother in her stopped her from uttering those words. Concrete for abstract. Same way, abstract for concrete is also used. Abstract to concrete. Example, APJ Kalam's dream is slowly taking shape. Same way in synecdoche, children, material for the thing is made. Thing made. The broken bricks narrated the story of the glorious time they once witnessed. You can imagine over here, children, that the material, the broken bricks, is used for the thing made. The broken bricks narrated the story of the glorious time they once witnessed. So in all these examples, children, we find that a part is made to represent the whole, or the whole is made to represent a part. The next one is inversion, children. In inversion, the correct grammatical order of a subject, verb, and object is not followed in a sentence to maintain the rhythm or rhyme scheme of the poem. So here, the intention of the poet is to bring out rhythm or rhyme scheme of the poem. He changes the grammatical order of SVO, that is subject, verb, and object. See these examples. Creeping like a snail, unwillingly to school. Creeping like a snail. The child creeps like a snail, unwillingly to school. Actually, the correct order should be creeping like a snail to school, unwillingly. Then the next sentence, may the sins of your previous birth be burnt away tonight, they said. Here it is inversion because the words the words that have been changed for the poetic effect. The correct order should be, they said, may the sins of your previous birth be burnt away tonight. So, children, the main intention of the poet is to bring about or is to maintain the rhythm and rhyme scheme. Next one is hyperbole. In hyperbole, the idea or ideas are exaggerated for the poetic effect. See these examples. No one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth. No one. Look at the second sentence. And buzzed the name of God 100 times. Really? Did they buzz the name of God 100 times? No. Next example. The peasants came like swarms of flies. Like swarms of flies, the peasant came. In all these examples, we find that the statements are exaggerated versions of what the sentences intend to convey. So, in short, we understand about hyperbole, that is hyperbole, that hyperbole makes things either greater than what they are. Next one is metonymy. Here, an object is referred to as something closely associated with it. Examples: we have always remained loyal to the crown. Crown. Crown is a word which is closely associated with the king or monarchy or monarch. Next example: seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. Here again, it is metonymy because the poet has used the words cannon's mouth to represent its close association with death. So you might have understood that metonymy is a figure of speech wherein a thing or concept spoken about is referred to not by its own name but by some other element closely associated with the thing or concept spoken about. So we find that things are spoken of without their actual name being taken, but by the name of something associated with them, thereby creating a better impact. Next one is euphemism. In euphemism, agreeable, mild terms are used to convey disagreeable ideas, that is, harsh terms. So, mild words are used to express or to convey harsh terms. Examples: in the present times, special children too have a place in normal schools. Special children too have a place in normal schools. This is something where mild word is used. Special children in normal schools to convey harsh terms. Next example: the great soul has left us forever. Instead of the great soul died, the mild word is used and that is left over here. Next example: he passed away leaving behind a void. One more example: a special child. He stunned the world with his creativity. Stunned. So, children, in euphemism, in short, we can say that it is a figure of speech wherein harsh, unpleasant, or blunt ideas are substituted with mild words and favorable terms. The next one is imagery. Imagery is to create pictures invoked in a poem. It is the descriptive writing that appeals to the senses: sight, taste, touch, smell, and hearing. We use imagery in everyday speech to convey our meaning. So, wherever images are used, children, it becomes imagery. It was dark and dim in the forest. Dark and dim. These are words which bring out images in our mind. Next example: in fair round belly, with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut. See the words that are used in these lines, children. In fair round belly. After reading these words of fair round belly, that image of round belly comes comes in our mind. Then with eyes severe and beard of formal cut. So formal cut beard also comes, that image of formal cut comes in our mind. So in short, imagery is a figure of speech which bring out images in our mind. Next figure of speech is epigram, children. Epigram is a brief, spontaneous statement or saying which communicates a thought in a witty, absurd, and a funny way. So, epigram is something which shows wit, children, which shows intelligence, which shows some spontaneous statement or saying. See these examples. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Within a short, small line, a very big thought or a saying has been given through this line, children. Experience is the name everyone gives to their mistakes. See the last example. Work is the curse of the drinking class. Such a beautiful sentence, children. So, in epigram, you must understand that it is a short but spontaneous statement, and it is often used in verse form, which communicates a thought in a very witty, absurd, and funny way. So in epigram, children, we find in all these examples, we find that short pointed sayings or remarks are expressed in an intelligent manner, making at once more interesting and surprising. So it is a figure of speech wherein short sayings or remarks are used to convey the idea in an intelligent, thought-provoking or amusing manner. Next and the last one which we are studying is oxymoron. Oxymoron is a figure of speech in which two opposite ideas are joined to create an effect. The common oxymoron phrase is a combination of an adjective preceded by a noun with contrasting meanings such as cruel kindness, living death, sweet truth, seriously funny, foolish wisdom. An oxymoron may produce a dramatic effect but does not make literal sense. Oxymorons examples are found both in casual conversations as well as in literature. So see these examples, children. May the poison purify your flesh. Poison, purify your flesh. Next one, in order to lead, you must walk behind. So, two contradictory ideas are predicted at once of the same thing. That's what we need to understand about oxymoron. So, when we learn about oxymoron, we can say wherein two contradictory qualities are attributed to the same thing, thereby creating a better poetic impact. Even I can give you one more example, children. It was a seriously comic situation. Seriously comic situation. Same way, the minor crisis toppled the empire. Or I can give you one more example, like there was a silent scream for justice. Silent scream. So children, this way, in part 1 and 2 video sessions, we tried to learn maximum figures of speech. Now you're going to do the exercise that is given in the end of the video. As well as you're going to read different poems and try to go through each line, learning about rhyming scheme as well as poetic devices, means figures of speech. See these example, children, that are given in the exercise and try to solve them. Thank you.